Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories. We have stories that should thrill you a little and chill you a little.
It's amazing.
What you'll hear are adventures sent in by you guys, classic stories from the pulp mags, and episodes from the golden age of radio. We have special segments like Ghost Stories with Sylvia.
That's amazing.
And These Are Your Stories. So settle in for the next hour and enjoy the show. One more thing. You just might want to prepare yourself to be taken away from today.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by the year 2023. Michael Altshuler once said, "The bad news is that time flies. The good news is we're the pilots." A good thought as we begin this new year. Now for our story.
Attention, Motorcycle Patrol 14. Attention, Motorcycle Patrol 14. Go immediately to Whaleback Beach. Body has been reported found on shore. Attention, Motorcycle Patrol 14.
Hey, you! What are you doing down there? I'm the one who called the police. The body's down here.
I'll be right down. Now wait there.
Take your time. That hill's pretty steep.
Is he dead?
I'm afraid so. I've been trying to bring him around.
Well, who is he?
A neighbor of mine, John Rawlings.
What's your name?
William Sanders. I live up the beach about a mile. Rawlings has the cottage next to mine.
What's happened here?
Well, I'd just come in with my boat when I saw Rawlings sprawled on the sand. From the looks of him, he must have been in the water for several hours, as he had several strings of weed clinging to his wet clothes. I've been working on him while waiting for you.
Well, he's gone, all right.
Poor Rawlings. I don't quite know how to break it to his wife.
Mr. Sanders, where did you say you had been this afternoon?
You mean when I discovered the body?
Well, before that.
Well, I was out sailing all afternoon. I usually come in about 5 o'clock each afternoon, but since it was such a warm day, I made it an hour later.
You were out all afternoon, then?
Yes, that's right. This evening, when I was sailing in, making for my anchor buoy, I noticed what seemed to be a body lying on the beach. I anchored the ship and rowed in with my little boat that I keep tied up to the buoy.
Where do you keep the rowboat when you're on shore?
Oh, I also keep it out there. This line here, attached to the cliff, goes out to the buoy, and after I row in, I use the line to pull the rowboat back out to the water. That's to keep the tides from smashing it on the rocks.
You say you rowed right into the beach?
Yes. Rawlings was lying high up on the sand. He must have been washed in by the high tide and left there when it ran out.
How far out do you keep your sailboat?
Well, when it's high tide, it's about 100 yards offshore.
And at low tide?
I should say about 50. When I came into shore tonight, it was only necessary for me to row in that distance, as it had been low tide for about 4 hours.
Well, that'll be sufficient, Mr. Sanders. I've enough for my report.
It's been a horrible accident.
No, Mr. Sanders, you mean murder.
What?
I repeat, murder. And I'm holding you as the killer.
What flaw did the policeman discover in William Sanders' story that brands him as the murderer? In just a moment, we'll know, but first...
Well, I'm sure I don't see the flaw. But then again, I'm neither a yachtsman or a motorcycle cop.
You don't have to be either to solve this case.
Oh?
Yes, the fault lies not in our stars, but in the evidence at hand.
Cryptic, but I'll bite.
Why was the body still wet?
It was floating.
Hold on. Was it?
Oh, it was washed up on the shore, wasn't it?
Now you got it.
Why, it would have been dry.
See, you're not a complete idiot.
Thanks.
And now, back to our story.
Mr. Sanders, your story contained one glaring contradiction that turned it into a confession of guilt. You told me that the body was wet when you found it. Yet just a moment ago, you admitted that the tide had been out for about 4 hours, thus leaving the body lying on the beach for that length of time in the summer sun. If Rawlings' body were wet, as you claimed you found it, it's because you just put it there after first drowning your victim. Sorry, Mr. Sanders, but your story sailed off course that time. Your alibi is on the rocks.
Well, hey, that motorcycle cop had some really good puns there at the end.
I am glad that you found them amusing.
I did.
A solvable mystery that time.
Thanks to your keen observations, BG, you are getting really good at these.
I like to call myself a 5-minute mystery savant.
I'm sure you do.
Is that you say?
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. On the show today, we have more of your stories, and they're all based on the dog. Also, we have a wonderful classic science fiction story called Child's Play. Now, don't think Chucky here. Think children of the future having a chemistry set that they can clone people. Now, I'm going to bring in Sylvia to talk about what kinds of things we're going to be doing in 2023. Sylvia?
Hey, welcome to 2023, everybody.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, I remember January of 2022.
How did this happen?
I don't know.
I didn't order a year to go by so quickly, but You know what? Here we are.
You know what, though? In terms of years that we've had, 2020 was pretty awful. 2021, not as bad. 2022, better.
I hope we're on the upswing.
We're due for a fantastic 2023.
Yes.
Well, there's going to be some changes to Ron's Amazing Stories and to Ghost Stories with Sylvia. With Ron's Amazing Stories, we're going to be looking into expanding on the idea of these are your stories. I'm going to be figuring out plans so that we can have actual people come on the show and tell their stories. And we can also look forward. Well, I can't really say everything that I'm going to do, but it could involve a separate podcast. That's all I'll say at this point. Ghost Stories with Sylvia. Sylvia, we're going to be doing some things.
Yes, we are. And I think the beginning of a new year is a good time to make plans like that. We have got so many wonderful things in store for you guys. Really, it's going to be great.
Well, I think one of the things we can say is that your new series of books, and I'm going to have you talk about that real briefly, but your new series of books are going to play a role in these changes. So why don't you talk about what you're doing with your new books?
Oh, boy. Well, I am currently working on a new book about a third of the way through, so that should come out in June or so. That is called Gone on Vacation. It's Haunted Zoos, Museums, and Amusement Parks. That's the one I've been teasing for quite some time.
Yep.
And I'm also still gathering material for Grave Deeds and Dead Plots.
That's what I'm excited about.
I have so many more stories to share with you guys. I mentioned to a ghost hunter friend of mine about working on it and working on the gangster book. And he said, "Ooh, you should put Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in there." Because the pond next to the cemetery was used as a dumping ground for mafia hit victims.
Oh, wow.
So there is definitely a gangster connection to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery outside Chicago, which is a very, very, very haunted cemetery.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the book that is out under that title?
Okay, well, the first volume in the series, I still can't believe I'm the author of a series. It's great. The first volume of the series is Grave Deeds and Dead Plots, Volume 1. And that is a collection of true crime stories that have resulted in hauntings. I am fascinated with this idea that crime happens, and it's a sad fact, but it has led to some very interesting ghost stories. And you know, Ron, that I am really passionate about the idea that history creates ghost stories.
It sure does.
Yeah, and I am really intrigued with this, exploring the idea that true crime also creates ghost stories. True crime is part of history, and it leads us to a great deal of material when it comes to ghost lore.
Well, where can we get your books and get your brand new Lights Out podcast?
Yes, there is a new Lights Out podcast. Very exciting. You can go to sylviaschultz.wordpress.com and click on the Lights Out button. There is an episode that I posted a little while ago, a few weeks ago, about another haunted cemetery. And I did a Christmas episode of Lights Out this year. This is a real treat. You're going to get to hear me read one of the ghost stories that entertained people back in the day. The Victorians loved telling ghost stories, and that tradition continued up until the 1920s and 1930s. So I have chosen a ghost story from that era to read on Lights Out as a Christmas present for you guys.
Great. Well, thank you, Sylvia, for your time. And I will have links to everything Sylvia just said in the show notes. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, computer, Kindle. Whatever you have, you can listen to Audible on it. So what am I listening to? Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, narrated by Ray Porter. A lone astronaut must save the Earth from disaster in this incredible new science-based thriller from #1 New York's best-selling author of The Martian. Now, I'm going to bring Sylvia back in here because, Sylvia, you have personal experience with Andy Weir yourself. You are a fan of his book, The Martian.
I am. I read omnivorously and voraciously, but I don't really tend to read science fiction. But the premise of The Martian was just so astounding that I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And it just sucked me in, and it was so interesting. I really enjoyed the way that the book was sciencey enough to make me feel smart while I was reading it, but not too much technical detail so that I felt dumb while I was reading it.
Yeah.
It was really, really well written, and I hugely enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to reading Project Hail Mary, too.
Well, a lone astronaut must save the Earth from disaster. That is right up his alley. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be honest right here and now. I have not listened to this book yet, but I am spending a credit on this guy. So in just a minute, I'm going to play a clip from the book. So we'll have that. What I loved about The Martian was each failure led to another failure, which led to another failure, which led to another failure, which he had to solve all these in order to fix the original problem and get back on track. Yes. And it was just so amazing to read these, I call them journal entries.
Yeah.
And that's just how the book is. And I'm hoping that Project Hail Mary is the same way. What do you say we listen to the clip?
Sure, that sounds good.
All right.
I have a confession to make my own self. I work at a library, as you know, and I was the one who put the cover on the library's copy of Project Hail Mary. So I snuck a little bit of time and I read the first few pages of the book as I was supposed to be working. But it was really, I didn't want to put it down. I was at work, so I had to. But yeah, you're just not sure what's going on. The main character's not sure what's going on, and he starts to get a little sense of it. And then, oh, well, no, we gotta wait to find out. So
okay, let's play a clip from the book. The main character, Raylan Grace, has just awoken aboard his spaceship. He doesn't know it yet, but all of his crewmates are dead. His memory is gone, and there is an irritating computer voice talking to him.
What's 2 + 2? Something about the question irritates me. I'm tired. I drift back to sleep. A few minutes pass, then I hear it again. What's 2 plus 2? The soft, feminine voice lacks emotion, and the pronunciation is identical to the previous time she said it. It's a computer. A computer is hassling me. I'm even more irritated now. I say. I'm surprised. I meant to say, leave me alone. A completely reasonable response, in my opinion, but I failed to speak. Incorrect, says the computer. What's 2 plus 2? Time for an experiment. I'll try to say hello. I say. Incorrect. What's 2 plus 2? What's going on? I want to find out, but I don't have much to work with. I can't see. I can't hear anything other than the computer. I can't even feel. No, that's not true. I feel something. I'm lying down. I'm on something soft. A bed. I think my eyes are closed. That's not so bad. All I have to do is open them. I try, but nothing happens. Why can't I open my eyes? Open. And open. Open, dang it. Ooh, I felt a wiggle that time. My eyelids moved. I felt it. Open. My eyelids creep up and blinding light sears my retinas. I say. I keep my eyes open with sheer force of will. Everything is white with shades of pain. Eye movement detected, my tormentor says. What's 2 plus 2? The whiteness lessens. My eyes are adjusting. I start to see shapes, but nothing sensible yet. Let's see. Can I move my hands? No. Feet? Also no. But I can move my mouth, right? I've been saying stuff. Not stuff that makes sense, but it's something. Incorrect. What's 2 plus 2? The shapes start to make sense. I'm in a bed. It's kind of oval-shaped. LED lights shine down on me. Cameras in the ceiling watch my every move. Creepy though that is, I'm much more concerned about the robot arms. The 2 brushed steel armatures hang from the ceiling. Each has an assortment of disturbingly penetration-looking tools where hands should be. Can't say I like the look of that. Oh, I say. Will that do? Incorrect. What's 2 plus 2? Dang it. I summon all my willpower and inner strength. Also, I'm starting to panic a little. Good. I use that too. 4, I finally say. Correct. Thank God. I can talk. Sort of. I breathe a sigh of relief. Wait. I just controlled my breathing. I take another breath. On purpose. My mouth is sore. My throat is sore, but it's my soreness. I have control. I'm wearing a breathing mask. It's tight to my face and connected to a hose that goes behind my head. Can I get up? No, but I can move my head a little. I look down at my body. I'm naked and connected to more tubes than I can count. There's 1 in each arm, 1 in each leg, 1 in my gentleman's equipment, and 2 that disappear under my thigh. I'm guessing 1 of them is up where the sun doesn't shine. That can't be good. Also, I'm covered with electrodes. The sensor-type stickers, like for an EKG, but they're all over the place. Well, at least they're only on my skin instead of jammed into me. Oh, I wheeze. I try again. Where am I?
All right, Sylvia, what's your reaction to that clip? For me, I'm getting chills because it does sound just like The Martian. It sounds fantastic. A computer hassling you? I love it.
That is what sucked me in, and I did not want to put the book down at that point. And it's going to be the same way with the audiobook. It's just, you can't wait to find out what happens next. And why is the computer hassling him?
Well, I guess we'll find out, huh?
Yeah.
We'll all find out together. I do know this. The main character's name is Raylan Grace, and he realizes that he has an impossible task that now confronts him. Alone in this tiny ship that has been coupled together by every government space agency on the planet and hurled into the depths of space, it's up to him to conquer an extinction-level event to our species. No pressure there, right?
Terrifying.
All right, well, this book is part scientific mystery, part dazzling interstellar journey, is a tale of discovery, speculation, and the survival of mankind. And you can have this book today. Here's what Audible has set up for us. They are offering a free audiobook and 30 days to give you the opportunity to check out their service. This includes free access to the Audible Plus catalog, which is updated monthly with new titles. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories, and you can get Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Thank you, Audible. And now, it's time for your stories.
These are your stories, sent by you, for you.
This week we have a theme for our stories. It is the dog. All of the stories are about man's best friend and the trouble they can cause and get into. Will Rogers once said, "If there are no dogs in heaven, then when I die, I want to go where they went." I can't say he's wrong. Our first story is a short one that comes from the great state of Georgia. It was sent in by Harvey Bensella, who has titled his short story, Ghost Dog Playing. I live in a very rural area in southwest Georgia. I have 2 dogs who are friendly and love to play. One clear, sunny day, I had the dogs out in the yard when a strange dog showed up. It was running all around the yard with my dogs chasing them. They all 3 seemed to be really enjoying their game of chase, and it lasted for about 15 minutes. The strange dog finally ran full speed into the side of my home and disappeared. My dogs were running at top speed as well and had trouble stopping before they slammed into the side of the house themselves. They stayed for a while in that immediate area searching for the other dog. It actually appeared that they were quite frantic in their search, whining and sniffing while running in circles. I went to see what happened to the dog since I had witnessed the whole thing myself, standing about 100 feet away. There was no place that dog could have gone. No damage, no hole under the house, no sense to it at all. The dog just vanished into thin air. I had never seen that dog before, and I've not seen it since. Ghost dog, maybe? Harvey Bensella, Georgia. We've gotten some interesting stories on the show, but a broad daylight disappearing dog? Well, that's a brand new one. Thank you for sharing your story, Harvey. This next story comes from Kathy Benson, who sent it in via the website using the submission banner. She hails from Texas and has titled her story, "Hun, the Dog's in the Crate." This one's always a fun one to tell. My husband doesn't believe in the paranormal and thinks it's a bunch of nonsense. We were still early in our relationship and living together for a couple years. He had bought this old house in a suburb near Dallas. I would often see shadows move in the corner of my eye, and I began having a sense that our energy was not the only one there. We had a 120-pound American black lab, so my husband would tell me that it could easily be her moving around the house. Or maybe the neighbors backed in and the lights hit the windows just right. One day I told my guy I saw a small black shadow walk into the laundry room. I was not taken seriously. "Has to be some explanation," he said. I mentioned it because it wasn't out of the corner of my eye experience this time. It had walked into the laundry room and disappeared into the wall. A few weeks later, we were getting ready to go to the store. I was doing some laundry, and he was in the basement doing something on the computer. He asked me to put our dog in her crate while he finished up. "He'll just be a minute longer," he said. The crate was to the right of where my guy was sitting. All the lights were off except for the hall light at the top of the stairs and the PC. I'm standing at the end of the stairs facing my guy, and he's looking at the computer. That is when this black shadow dog walks in from the laundry room, turns around a bit, and then walks back. My guy says, "I thought you put her in her crate." I had put her in the crate a few minutes earlier, but I said, "Nah, I thought you were going to do it." My guy calls the dog, but I'm looking at our dog in her crate. Now he's losing his patience, since there are things in the laundry room he doesn't want her to eat or get into. "Can you please get the dog?" he says. "What dog?" I say. "Fine, I'll do it," he says, quite irritated. At this point, I ask him to turn around and look in the crate. He turns, looks, and then looked back to where the shadow dog had been. "You saw it, didn't you? You saw the black shadow dog go into the laundry room, too." This was the only time he ever admitted he saw something in that house. I don't know much about shadow beings. Never really looked into it. We were in that house for 8 years and had our first kid there. There was never anything malicious or scary, just some shadows walking around in the basement. Kathy Benson, Texas. Well, Kathy, that is a fun story. Not too many shadow encounters are benevolent, at least the ones we have on this show. Quite refreshing, actually. Thank you for sharing your story. This next story is another short one. It comes from Alex Mayhew from LA. He has titled his story, Leia's Visit. Hi, my name is Alex. I used to have a dog named Leia when I was younger. I named her after Leia Organa from Star Wars. I loved her very much, and when we discovered she was dying, I was heartbroken. We went to the vet, and she had to be put down. That night, I couldn't sleep. I heard my dog walking across my hallway. Let me explain. My dog had long nails and would resist if we had tried to cut them. So we just let her be. Every time she would walk across the hallway, it had this specific sound, and I knew it when I heard it. At around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of my dog walking back and forth across the hallway. After 2 minutes or so, it stopped. I was terrified. I got up and looked into the hallway. Nothing there. However, I know I heard that sound, and in the morning I was not the only one that had heard it. We all agreed that Leia had come home for one more visit. Alex Mayhew, Los Angeles, California. Well, Alex, I have no doubt that Leia made one more visit to you and your family. Thank you for sharing your story. Our last story comes from Crystal Sharp, who lives in Vancouver, Washington, my hometown. Crystal is a friend of a friend, and my friend not only saw this happen, but was part of the story titled Garbage Can Puppy. The other day, my family decided to go for a walk in the park. My dad wanted to bring a frisbee, so he tied our dog to the garbage can while he went to grab it. Well, she wanted to go with him, so she started walking after him. Turns out, the can was empty. Not full like my dad thought, and it tipped over and scared the crap out of her. In her frightened state, she proceeded to run down the driveway and into the street while dragging this empty trash can behind her. My dad went chasing after, but she couldn't hear him calling over the sounds of that trash can being banged around. He eventually caught her, but not before she dragged that thing into 5 of our neighbors' cars, producing a number of dents, scratches, and even a broken side mirror before catching up. Quite a sight if you happen to be there. Crystal Sharp, Vancouver, Washington. Well, there's a bit more to this story. Crystal's dad had to make good on all of those repairs to the various vehicles, including my friend's classic 1968 Ford Mustang. Quite the scene, I guess. Well, that's it for this time. If you have a story that you would like to share, head to the main website at ronsamazingstories.com. Click on the story submission banner, leave your story, give it a title, and please tell me where you're from. I'll read it if I can. Our featured story this week comes from the classic radio series X-1. Have you ever thought, man, if there were only 2 of me, I could get things done? Well, today we take a look at what that could be like. A milquetoast of a lawyer accidentally receives a package in the mail containing a cloning machine from the future, with which he sets about making a duplicate capable of turning his life around. But does it work? We're going to find out in the story, Child's Play. It first aired on X-1 on October 20th, 1955.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000 could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight's story, Child's Play by William Tenn.
My name, Sam Weber. My job, an attorney, and a pretty successful one, if I do say so myself. Maybe you won't believe it, my best friends find it hard to believe, but I used to be a completely different guy. Frightened, sickly, nearsighted, a real Mortimer Meek. No kidding. That was 10 years ago. The big change in me began to take place on a cold December morning in 1955.
Just a moment, please. Yes, please.
Weber?
Yes.
Samuel?
That's right.
Okay, Jack, step back. All right, fellas, bring it in.
Just a moment. You must have the wrong...
Watch it, Jack. Sign here.
Is that for me?
Weber, Garden Apartments.
It looks like a coffin.
I don't design 'em, Jack. I just deliver 'em. Sign here.
After much straining, I wasn't in very good physical shape those days. I managed to push the box under my single light bulb. There was a card in a small envelope.
Let's see. To Sam from your classmates at the Interdimensional and Cosmic Institute. Merry Christmas. 2155. Holy jumping catfish. Hey, mister! Hey, mister! There must be some mistake. Hey! Holy jumping catfish.
They were gone. And I didn't even know which delivery company it was. I sat down to think, and it was just beginning to seep into my sleepy brain that maybe this was one of Lou White's practical jokes when I noticed there was something funny about that box. For one thing, it was dated 2155, 200 years from now. And for another thing, it was solid gold. Pop had been in the jewelry business long enough for me to verify that. At that point, I decided to open it up and see what was in it. After about a half hour of fumbling, I gave up.
All right. If you won't open, you won't open.
No sooner had I said the word open than it came apart like the skin off a banana. There inside was something resembling a high-powered kid's chemical set. Vials, jars, tubes, wires. You never saw so much scientific-looking junk in your life. And on top of it all was a book of instructions printed in mad green streaks. I opened the cover and read page 1. Build-A-Man set number 3. This set is intended solely for the use of children between the ages of 11 and 13. The equipment will enable the child to build and assemble complete adult humans in perfect working order. A disassemblator is provided so the set may be used again and again with profit. Refills and additional parts may be acquired from the Build-A-Man Company, 928, Diagonal Level, Blunt City, Ohio. Remember, only with Build-A-Man can you build a man. When I arrived at work that morning, an hour late, my brain was still reeling with the stuff I'd read in the instruction book. By the time I'd reached the office, I decided it had been a bad dream and it would be over by nightfall.
Somerset and Ojak, attorneys at law. Just a moment. I'll connect you with Mr. Ojak. Oh, good morning, Mr. Weber.
Good morning. I gotta get my mind off that book.
Only with Build-A-Man can you build a man.
It must have been a dream. Probably go home tonight and find the place empty.
Well, if it isn't a poor man's Clarence Darrow. Hiya, Sam! Sam?
Oh, hello, Lou.
I come as bearer of sad tidings.
You don't look very sad.
Boss wants to see you, laughing boy.
What about?
Well, how should I know? Oh, and by the way, Sam, you'll be happy to know that I've just been promoted. I'm handling all the criminal stuff from now on.
Congratulations.
Of course, you know what this means for Tina and me, don't you, Sammy? Ah, cheer up, son. Tina's not for you anyway. Some got it, some don't. Me, I'm loaded. You? Ha! Nothing. So long, laughing boy.
That was my good friend Lou White. Lou was one of those guys who always lands with his feet firmly planted in the back of somebody else's neck. In the year I had known him, he'd already managed to steal the job I wanted, and he was now working on the girl I wanted. Her name was Tina. Tina Velvet. She was...
Good morning, Sam.
Oh, good morning, Tina. My, you look...
Yes?
Good enough to take to lunch.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sam, but I promised Lou.
Sure.
I hope you're not too disappointed.
Me? Oh, no. Some got it, some don't. I don't.
Theoretically, Tina was employed by Somerset and Ojak as combination secretary and switchboard operator for Lou and me. I guess she wasn't what you'd call really smart, but she always managed to look like a pin-up girl caught with her clothes on, if you know what I mean. Well, that was Tina. I tried to steady my blood pressure as I walked into the boss's office.
You sent for me, Mr. Ojak?
Oh, yes. Sit down, Weber. Sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Ojak.
My boy, in this business, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to go out and create new clients. I don't mean ambulance chasing or anything like that, but you've got to show some zip.
Yes, sir.
Well, get in there and punch, Weber. I want to see a change in you in the next few months. As a matter of fact, you'd better.
I went back to my office, resolved to show some zip. I bit savagely into a copy of Hackleworth's On Torts. Then I called Tina for a memo. But by the time she came in, my mind was wandering again.
Rosenthal versus Rosenthal. On August 4th, the party of the first part. What comes next? Sam, what comes next?
Listen, forget the memo for a while. I want you to take a letter.
All right, Sam.
Today's date, usual heading. To the Chamber of Commerce, Glunt City, Ohio. Gentlemen, would you inform me if you have registered a street or avenue known as Diagonal Level or Avenue? I write on behalf of a new client of mine.
Oh, Sam, he was a new client. I wondered about it, but he looked so strange and sinister.
What did he look like?
Well, he was a terribly tall old man in a black overcoat. He asked if you were in, and then he tried to get your home address. But he looked and acted so strange I didn't give it to him. He went away positively furious.
That's great. Did he leave his name?
Well, that's the funny part of it. He just said he was the censor or the census taker or something from the 24th Oblong.
I left the office early and went home. Sure enough, there it was, my Build-A-Man set gleaming a little obscenely in the corner. I walked over to it, gave it a kick, and hollered, "Open sesame!" 3 minutes later, I was flopped down in bed reading Chapter 1, Making Simple Living Things. An hour later, I was fooling around with such complicated items as the Junior Bicalibrator, which measured everything from blood pressure to hemoglobin content, and the Jiffy Vitalizer, which was actually supposed to put life in your creation, providing you had followed instructions carefully. At 8 o'clock, I went out to supper with the idea of getting a little drunk. I did. At 9:45, I came back and made my first simple living thing.
Here, boy. Here, boy. Maybe you aren't a boy. Let's see. According to the book, you are a rubicular oyster hog. Not much to look at, but I made you. Me, Sam Weber, attorney at law. I have created life. Hey, come back here. Come back. Here, boy. Here, boy. Here, boy. Hey.
It was no use. My rubicular oyster hog, which was a cross between a field mouse and an oyster, had run out under the door and into the world. Next morning in the office, I turned to Chapter 2, Duplicating Babies and Small Humans.
Assemble your mannequin, setting all molds to the indicated calibrations. To disassemble a model, use the disassemblator provided with the set. If you cannot destroy your creation, the law requires you to call the census keeper for your oblong.
Good morning, Sam. Here's that memo on Rosenthal versus Rosenthal. Also a letter for you. Shall I read it?
Please.
Dear Mr. Weber, there is no firm at Glunt City bearing the name of Build-A-Man, nor do we have any thoroughfare called Diagonal. Sincerely yours, Thomas Plantagenet, Mayor.
Well, that's that.
Oh, by the way, your client was here again this morning, the ghoulish one.
What'd you tell him?
I said you'd be in later.
Thanks.
Will that be all, Sam?
Yes. No. Are you doing anything New Year's Eve?
Sam, I'm disappointed in you.
What did I do?
You haven't even noticed.
Noticed what?
The ring, silly. Third finger, left hand.
What?
Lou gave it to me.
Well, Lou has plenty of zip. I'm sure you'll be very happy zipping around with each other.
Oh, Sam.
What's the matter?
I don't know. I'm so confused.
Hey, listen, what's going on in here?
Tina just told me the good news about your engagement. She's crying with happiness.
Oh, is that right, honey? Well, no hard feelings, Sam. It's just that the best man got the girl. You understand how it is. Oh, by the way, we're having a little celebration at Sigali's tonight. Drop around and we'll live it up a little, huh?
I went home feeling like a man who had been stuffed into a washing machine with the dial set at rinse dry. I was a failure. My job was a bust. My girl was going to marry a football player. I'd been playing God with a chemistry set from some crazy futuristic world. And the bill collectors were hot on my heels.
Why not? Think of it. A Sam Weber without all the psychological problems you've got. A dynamic, uninhibited Sam who could win a girl like Tina by sheer magnetism. Then when it was all over, we just take the old disassemblator and presto. And I can do it, too. Chromosome content check. Well, here goes. It's moving. Holy mackerel. It's alive. It's sitting up.
Whoa! Hey, I feel great.
Take it easy. Do you know who you are?
Don't give me that take it easy routine. Of course I know who I am. I have all the thoughts you ever had up until the point I was vitalized. My brain is an exact duplicate of yours, except that I'm not all blocked up psychologically. Oh, by the way, since we both have the same name, it'll simplify things if I call you Weber. I'll be Sam.
Look here, I'll make the decisions.
How would you like a good punch in the nose?
Is that any way to talk to your own parent? I did create you, you know.
And don't think I don't appreciate it, Weber, old man, but let's get one thing straight. I live my life and you live yours. Got that?
Who pays the rent?
You do. For a while, anyway. I haven't decided whether or not I want to stay in the law business.
The law business?
It'd be a shame to waste all that good training, though. We went to Harvard, didn't we? On the other hand, I want to spread out a little. Tina's the kind of girl to whom money is very important.
Tina?
What'd you expect? We're not quite the same, you and I. I've got zip.
Don't use that word.
Sorry. Now, how about some dinner? I'm starved.
We'll have to go out.
I'll need some clothes.
Sorry, I only have this one suit.
Fine, you can lend it to me.
But what about me?
I'll bring you a sandwich after I come back from Sigali's.
Sigali's?
You haven't forgotten, have you, Weber? We're invited to the celebration, Tina and Lou White. Only it wouldn't look quite right if we both showed up. So I'll tell you all about it. Now, come on, off with the suit. And no nonsense.
Up, folks. Yahoo! Hey, have another drink, Mr. Ojak. Come on.
Thank you, Lou.
Is everybody happy? Oh, Tina, honey, you having yourself a little old time?
Well. The happy couple.
Sam.
Good evening, cats. Everybody's lit up like a Christmas tree, huh?
Well, I'll be... Sam, are you in the bag?
Never touch the stuff, Lou, my boy. Never touch it.
Hey, what's gotten into you, Weber? You seem different somehow.
Well, I'll tell you. Ever since I had that talk with Mr. Ojak about myself... Oh, you remember, don't you, Mr. Ojak?
Why, yes.
You made me realize, Mr. Ojak, that I had a whole reservoir of untapped zip. And that's all it took, just like that. I'm a changed man.
I don't believe it. It's an act. Why, you're nothing but a cream puff, and you always will be.
Mr. Ojak, I think he owes me an apology for that.
I should think so.
All right, all-American boy, make with the apologies.
Apologize? Why, for 2 cents I belch you.
Folks, would you excuse Mr. White and myself for a few minutes? Coming, Mr. White.
I'll be right back, honey. Oh, no!
Okay, big boy, you've taken enough punishment.
Lou, don't kill him. He did... Oh, dear.
He'll be all right in a little while, baby.
Did you? I mean... Oh, Sam.
Tina,
We really shouldn't be... kissing like this.
Well, it's what you've always wanted, isn't it? Well, isn't it?
Oh, Sam.
By this time, he's probably kissing her. And there's nothing you can do about it, Weber, old man. Nothing. Hey, wait a minute. Where's that book of instructions? To disassemble a Build-A-Man model, merely focus the ray of the disassemblator device and press lever X.
Tatina, my Tatina, da-da-da-dee,
So you're finally home. I'm starved.
My boy, you are looking at a man who, in one fell swoop, has got himself a raise, a promotion, and a wife. At least she'll be my wife tomorrow.
Who?
Tina, of course. Who have we wanted so desperately all these years?
I don't believe it.
It's true. I had to put on quite a show, but all around it was a real success. Mr. Ojak was so impressed, he called me aside and said he was going to give me a crack at some criminal cases, and if I made the grade, who knows, I may even accept a partnership.
And what happens to me? I suppose I sit in this room with no clothes for the rest of my life.
Oh, you'll be well taken care of, Weber.
You've got it all figured out, haven't you?
That's about it.
Only you neglected to consider one thing.
Oh, what's that?
This.
Oh, come on, put that down.
I'm going to melt you down like a Welsh rabbit.
Weber, you can't do that. It's murder. It's like killing your own son.
Take off my suit, you phony. You won't be needing it again.
You're going through with it, huh?
I am.
All right. And here's your jacket.
Oh, my arm.
Now, you give me that thing. Give it to me.
Oh.
That's better. Now we'll fix this little item so it can't do any damage. You see, Weber, you don't have the guts to stand up against the man you might have been.
What's that sound?
Somebody's coming up the stairs. Listen. Take a peek through the keyhole, Weber.
Holy jumping. It's him.
Whom?
He's burning it. He's burning a hole right through the door.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Who are you?
I'm the census keeper for the 24th Oblong. You see, your Build-A-Man set was intended for one of the Weber children, who's on a field trip in this Oblong 200 years from now. Because of an unfortunate time warp, the set was delivered here accidentally.
You mean this set came here from 200 years from now?
Precisely. Time, as with all things, is relative. We shall have to recover the set, of course, and adjust any discrepancies it has caused. Meanwhile, the problem is, which of you gentlemen is the original Sam Weber?
I am. Listen.
Liar.
Difficulties. Why can't I ever have a simple case like the doublet conduplication?
Now look here, Mr. Census Keeper. The duplicate will obviously be
less stable and more emotionally unbalanced. Certainly a man of your qualifications can decide which of us is the more valid member of society, which of us will conform more readily to the standards.
Naturally. I observe that one of you is naked. That, of course...
Wait a minute.
And you seem to be trembling, whereas this gentleman seems quite calm.
Hold it. You're making a mistake.
I hardly think so.
Stay away from me.
Do not struggle.
Help, please, you're...
Mr. Weber.
Yes?
It would be better if you didn't watch.
Of course.
You understand, it's not the gift of the Build-A-Man set we're afraid of letting you have. It's the principle involved. You people just aren't ready to play God. You understand, of course?
Perfectly. Well, that's my story. Within 10 seconds, the old Sam Weber had been completely dismantled and packed into the box. Tina and I were married, as you know, and I went on to become a full partner in the firm of Ojak, Somerset, and Weber. Oh, and by the way, Tina and I have been doing quite successfully what the old Sam Weber and his Build-A-Man set made such a mess of. We have 1, 2, 3 little conuplications. Sam Jr., age 4, Samantha, age 3, and Samina, age 2 months. Good night.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Child's Play by William Tenn, adapted for radio by George Lefferts. Featured in the cast were Bill Zuckert as the truck driver, John Gibson as Sam, Grant Richards as his alter ego, Peggy Lobbin was Tina, Ted Osborne played Mr. Ojak, Bob Hastings played Lou, and Guy Rep was the man from the Census Bureau. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was an NBC Radio Network production.
Well, what did you think of that one? To be sure, it's an interesting concept. Children in the future being able to clone a man at will, and the world's okay with that? I guess we have to look at the times when this was made. In the 1950s, chemistry sets for kids were all the rage. A brief heyday for the budding scientist. Most of the chemicals and equipment in these chemistry kits were harmless, but some would make the most lenient modern parent worry. Sodium cyanide can dissolve gold in water, but it's also a deadly poison. Atomic chemistry sets of the 1950s included radioactive uranium ore. How about that? They even came with a blowtorch. Things that would not fly in today's world. So our story? Well, I think in the 1950s, it had its place.
This is the Edsel. Its classic vertical grille, its elegant lines promise superb performance. And the Edsel keeps that promise on the road. These high-compression, high-torque engines are just one of many things that make driving an Edsel a great experience. To shift while both hands stay at the wheel. To feel the solid sureness of this beautifully engineered automobile. To sensibly test the potential of the newest engines in the world is something no man should miss. Your Edsel dealer invites you to take the Edsel for an introductory drive. This week, Road Test, the new member of the Ford family of fine cars, the Edsel, at your Edsel dealer.
Well, this is a new year, and that was episode 573. Harvey Benzella, Kathy Benson, Alex Mayhew, and Crystal Sharp were our storytellers today. My thanks to the dogs. Happy New Year, everyone. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you will find any of the links I mentioned and how to contact us. Do you want to help the show? The best thing you can do is to tell your friends all about it, and please leave reviews or feedback wherever you listen. Clicking that follow or like button helps us grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.